Well, it's June 11th, 2024, out here in the desert. And just a few days ago, we were camped out right about there on top of that mountain. 8,400 feet the road goes to, and we were camped out at a plateau, a sleepy glade that was at about 8,175 feet. But now here at my place, I'm at 4,555 feet with the shuttle bus and the schoolie we've been working on, and the messy house that I built that ain't done yet. Been working on it for years. Oh well, it's basically just a shed because I travel so much in the schoolie and the shuttle bus. But this video today is basically off grid here, working on my 12 string. So, working on my 12 string here, I'm fixing the bridge. This is the early 1980s, I believe, Takamine guitar. It's a copy of a Martin. In fact, it's the they call it the 400 Lawsuit series. My action was too low and the strings were buzzing, and the neck was convex. So under there is the truss rod. So I turned the truss rod just a little bit, loosened it up, and I got the bridge off. Piece of plastic here, you know. Made my marks on a new bridge here. Cut it to the length of the other one. Now I just got to sand it to make that curve there. Also, if you'll notice, there's a slight curve here on the top of how the strings go, go around it. Like from here, and the strings go up and over it. It shouldn't be a perfect flat right here on top of the bridge. The little piece of plastic, it should have a little curve so the strings go across it. And right now, of course, it's much too wide. It won't fit in the slot. So I have to sand it on some sandpaper on a flat surface. I'll do that. So I'm gonna slowly work my way and get this in there and put the strings back in their holes. And as you can see, I didn't unwind the strings from the top. You just loosen them up, actually about 20 turns, and then take them out here, take all the strings out. One thing I did was you can stand up the bridge like this, take a pencil, you stand up the bridge like that, and you take a pencil to make your curve like I did here. You would take the pencil, a flat pencil, could be a construction pencil, or you could grind down a regular pencil, and you could slide it across like this. Slide it across because there's a radius on those frets. Slide it across, make your mark. Be sure you know which side's left and right. The high E was over here because the curve can be different. So that's where I'm at. And when I'm done, as you can see the difference between here, if I line it up just right, line it up on the line, I'm not sure exactly how much I'll be adding to it, but kind of quite a bit. Looks like, oh, I don't know, what, 100 thousandths, 125, 1/8 of an inch. Will it be too high? Well, I don't mind if it's a little bit too high. I just don't want any strings to buzz. So let me get to work and sand this bridge to this 12 string down, and I'll be making some music out here off grid, out here in the desert. Over and out. And now, of course, it's really hard to hold this and sand back and forth because it's getting so thin. So I'll just take some of this Gorilla Tape, wrap it around itself to act like double tape, you know, and make it sticky, and put it on here, and then I'll be able to hold the tape and go back and forth with it till it gets to the thickness where it goes into the bridge saddle slot just tight enough to go in there without falling out if you were to tip it upside down. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to put this bridge in. It's finished up now, and there's the difference in the bridges. As you can see, the difference in height. Hopefully I won't have no more string buzz. I'll put it together and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, I have the new bridge in and everything's fine. I tuned it up and I put the capo on. It's not really a 12-string capo, but it works. Anyway, I put the capo on the first fret and tuned it to a standard tuning. And all the intonations played great. It sounded awesome, you know. Even notes on the 7th fret using the tuner were right on, just as they were if you would have let your fingers off and played it in the open string. Everything was great, but when I hit the high E note on the 3rd fret, like with a G chord, it would buzz. And I looked and I said, what's going on? Buzzing. Sometimes it buzzes, sometimes it don't. And it was slipping off the fret. And then I noticed something I didn't notice before. Look at the nut right there. And look, see the fret on the left-hand side of that 1st fret? The space? Now look at the right. It's almost on the edge. That's because the nut got moved this way. You can see it hanging out over the edge. I didn't even notice that. So my next step is to loosen up the strings a bit, push the nut where it's supposed to go, center it. Can't do it now, it's too tight. Center it, and then retune it, and I'll be right back with you. Hopefully you can hear it played. But as far as the action, in the next video, which I'm going to put all these videos together, but anyway, I'll tell you what it is at the 12th fret. But when I have the capo on the 1st fret, the 12th fret would be the 13th fret, right there. So anyway, the space, see it? See that? Let's see. Let me go over here. It's quite a bit. I would say it's a little too high, but I like it that way. I'm going to keep it that way, and then I'm going to maybe later on when I get a new set of strings, which it does need a new set of strings, I'll shave a little more off the bottom to get it down just a little bit lower. I'll take the bridge out, shave a little at the bottom, but for right now it plays awesome. It's a little bit hard to press down, but you know, 12 strings are a little bit harder to press down than 6 strings, but I don't mind it at all. If you look at it, the action's not all that high. Of course, it's hard to see like this. Okay, let me do the little bit that I need to do to that nut, get it straight, and I'll be right back. Okay, everything's perfect now. I got the capo on the 1st fret. I got the nut centered. I tuned it all up, played it a lot, tuned it up again, played it, tuned it up again. And right now with the capo on the 1st fret, it's to standard tuning, which means the actual guitar itself is tuned down a half a step. Now, as far as measuring the gap, I measured the gap on the 12th fret, you know, from the 1st fret would actually be the 13th fret anyway. So the gap underneath the low E strings, take for example this lower diameter E string here on the bottom, right there, the gap there is 60 thousandths, which is 1.5 millimeter. Now the gap over here in the high E string is about 45 thousandths, which is 1.15 millimeter. But when you go to the chart, let's go to the chart. Here's a little chart I got that came with the bridge. Kind of hard to read. What it's saying is the low E should be 3 millimeters, which is 118 thousandths gap. And the high E should be 2 millimeters, which is 0.079 of a gap. And what it says down there is determine the correct string height by measuring the gap between the top of the 12th fret and the bottom of the low E string. It should be around 125 thousandths, which is 3 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. Or about a stack of 12 business cards if you don't have a ruler. For the high E string, the gap should be around 80 thousandths, which is 2 millimeters. Or about a stack of 8 business cards. Anyway, everything's fine. I guess according to that chart, I've got a lower action than normal. But if you ask me, it seems like it could be a little bit lower. There's no string buzzes anywhere. And hopefully I can position my phone correctly to play a little bit for you just to see how it sounds. But everything's fine. I'm really glad it worked out correctly with the bridge that I did. All right, let's continue.